Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sisters Evolving, an Evolve Masterclass production. My name is Sari Lehrhoff,
And my name is Samantha Lehrhoff.
and we are here to talk about all things growth, relationships, transformation, but through the lens of sisterhood, personal evolution, and let's be honest, some good old-fashioned sister fun. So tonight or today, because I think it is daytime as I look out my sister's window. So today, I thought we could talk about a topic that we were working on in the Evolve Masterclass, and it's all about holding safe space. And this is something that Samantha, you and I really figured out and learned about and evolved through together because we started off not being able to hold space for each other or other people. And I don't know if you can think way back when
Oh,
to
I can think of way back when.
when I was doing the older sister thing where I wasn't listening so well, and if at all, and instead I was telling you how you should live your life. Do you remember
Yeah.
that?
Oh, I remember that. I did not feel so safe to come and talk to.
Yeah. And I think this is what happens in a lot of families, right? It's older sibling, parents, whoever, they love the person that they want to help, support, etc. And so they think the best way to do that is to give advice, tell them what to do and where to go and how to do all the things.
Yes.
But what was it like for you, I guess, when I was doing it to you?
It felt like I wanted to run far, far away. Um, what I was probably seeking was the holding of space, was me working out whatever it was that I was choosing or going through at the times. And even though I did come to you for advice, because I think when you're little, that's what, you do. You go to your older sisters or who you look up to. And I looked up to you. So I would come to you and it did. It felt not impossible, but it just didn't work. Let's just put it like that. It didn't work because I don't think what we knew then, what we know now.
Right. And so for the part of you that had things that were going on, whether it was boyfriends, stuff you were getting into with friends, would you say, that didn't feel safe to actually tell me what you were starting to choose?
Yes, especially the harder stuff because you were going through your doctor, right? Your med school and all your things. You would tell me things to scare the living bejesus out of me. And I think that instead of hearing all the scare me tactics, right, that didn't work at the time, what I really needed was for like the questioning and the being in that curious space holding for me.
I think when we acknowledge that it is from a place of love, that we do want to keep the people we love safe, but also understand that they're here to live their life. And part of what we figured out was you needed to try things on for yourself.
Yes, big time.
Make your own mistakes, if you will, right? And not look at mistakes as such bad things. We often go through the worst scenarios in our head, but that's not often the case that it actually happens. Instead, we have mishaps, mess ups, and some bruised knees slash egos along the way, but a lot of it is a learning experience.
Mhm,
And I know there was a point where I realized you weren't sharing things with me, that you
mhm,
didn't feel safe to talk to me about it. And that's when I realized something wasn't working in our relationship, right? And in relationships in general, if we didn't feel safe to talk to each other, it's because we weren't making it safe for that
mhm.
person. For me, and I talk about this a lot, was like when that time that I was on a yoga retreat and we were waiting for the retreat to start, it was going to start the next day. And I was sitting by a pool and there was a bunch of girls there talking to each other. I didn't know them, but those girls were telling their girlfriend, like, oh, girl, you got to break up with him. He's so bad for you. This is what you're going to do. You're going to break up with him over text. And then we're going out tonight and we're going to take you around town and we're going to find you a real man, a good man, right? We know what you need. And I
Mhm.
just watched this poor girl's body language was just kind of like sinking into herself, and you could see her discomfort and the lack of safety. And I just kept thinking, this girl's not ready to break up with her guy, most likely. And she's probably not going to tell her friends if she stays with him. or she's not going to talk to them anymore because she doesn't feel safe. They're not giving her any space, any wiggle room to figure this out.
Do you think that it was a light bulb for you, that moment of transformation, like, aha?
That was a big aha moment. And that's when I realized I was doing the same things to you in
Mhm.
lots of different ways. And I just knew it wasn't working anymore. And so that's sort of when we realized and we came together and started saying like how do we make each other feel safe? How do we make sure that we do feel like we can talk to the other person? What's it going to take? What's the language? And that was big for you. You were all about the language.
Yes, I just knew certain words and how we said things and how it made me feel. I was super duper in touch with all the energy work I was doing with myself. And so if I heard it a certain way or it was phrased a certain way or word choices, it made such a difference. And so then I think you got even more curious as like to how can I speak her language too so we can meet.
Gosh, and isn't that what it's all about is just like learning the other person's language and being open to it and being willing to try it on, so that you can communicate and you can be effective. And I just remember some of the things that we came up with was just like, getting rid of the should, right? Like never telling the other person what they should do,
Yeah.
right? Instead coming from a place and space of possibility. So it would be more like, have you thought about, or what would it be like for you to stay with this person, not stay with this person, but never from a place of judgment, right? The goal was to ask a question that wasn't leading.
Yes. Like no secret agenda or anything like that. It was just like true curiosity.
Yeah. Because what, you had said to me at one point was like, help me come to my own conclusions, right? Or my own choices or my own decisions. Don't give me yours because then I'm not going to find out what I really want, what my body really wants, what my instinct is telling me to do, or my knowing maybe is the best word for this. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was kind of when we talked about that internal GPS, that everybody's got a different destination plugged in
Yes.
for themselves. And I can only see my destinations that are in my GPS. And so if I try to give you my destination, you're going to end up going where you were never meant to go. So that's when we started talking about, well, how do we help the other person instead of giving them shoulds or advice, but just help them find the clarity of their GPS and where they're meant to go.
Yes. Big time. And I do want to say that it's hard to do that if we're coming from a space of we're in our ego. So if that phone call happens or that conversation happens, and let's say I'm in the go or I'm in the rush or I'm not being my highest self, it would be hard for me to come from that space. So I'd really have to, I think that's also what we had learned too, was like how to make sure that we're in a good space or in that higher self space to have these kinds of holding space for each other.
Yeah. And I
So
remember that conversation where you're like, I need you to ask me first, is this a good time?
yeah.
Right? When we call each other, that we start saying before we unload, or before we give like this huge response to what we heard. Maybe I heard through mom or our older sister, like that you were going to do something. The goal was to call you not to talk through it because I felt we needed to talk through it, but to call you to ask, is this a good time? Do you have the mental space, right, or emotional space to talk through this right now?
Yes. That's such a big one.
And that's hard because you could be so revved up. And I think that's a great check-in, right? Which is if you're feeling an urgency to talk to the other person, you are an ego, right? Or you are being led by your survival brain rather than, your evolved, higher thinking, higher level brain that can like pause and think through things and trust, that there's no urgency here. So it's a good check-in. And I think it took some getting used to for us
Mm-hmm.
to be able to ask the other person, right? But like, wow, what a difference.
A whole 180.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you came to me too. You came to me, you know, vulnerable at times and allowed me to practice the hat of holding space, right? And I think that by you just like opening up and being that and asking that of me really helped me like feel on a level with you that I feel like also helped us in our relationship transform.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this about me, but there was a time when I was going through my medical school rotations, you have to try each one out. So they put you in surgery and then gynecology and pediatrics, and you're rotating through all these fields, and I hated every single one of them. I thought I was going to be a gynecologist, an OBGYN, because I loved delivering, life and miracles and new life, etc. But it didn't fit. I got there and I just didn't like a lot of things about it. And I kept going through these different rotations. And I just one day I just had a major, meltdown. And I called you and I was like, what am I doing? I don't like anything. Why did I do this? Maybe this was a mistake, right? What was I thinking? I hate all these rotations. At that point, I had almost finished, right? I had one rotation left and it was psychiatry, but I hadn't done it yet. But when I called you hysterical, crying and panicking and freaking out, you did not tell me to just hang in there. You did not tell me, to go back and, follow dad in his footsteps and be a urologist, a surgeon. You held space.
I remember that phone call so vividly, so well.
I was pacing the house. I was pacing the downstairs kitchen.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember just letting you sort of work through that and like getting all the feelings felt and, the thoughts said or whatever it was that you needed to sort of go through.
It's huge, right? And because you just let me talk and process and asked questions that were open, you know, like what is it like for you? And what's your gut telling you? Would you regret it if you quit? Do you feel like you need to quit? Like, and it was such neutral energy. And
Mhm.
that's, I think, such a big part of holding space is not having a charge, right? Not having a one way or another. You're just coming to someone that you care about with this neutral energy so that they can figure it out, so that they can speak it out into existence and kind of hear themselves talk out loud to find their next best step. And because of your neutral energy, I was able to get that clarity that I would regret it if I didn't, keep going and try, to keep rotating. And of course, it was like the next week, I was in psychiatry and it was just like an instant fit. I knew I was where I was supposed to be. I knew talking to people and making them feel safe and, hearing their stories. I love people's stories, offering them meditations. It was just like, oh my God. And of course, I got there because you didn't lead me anywhere. You just held me emotionally.
Oh, honey.
Oh, honey.
Oh, honey.
The gift.
The love.
The gift of sisterhood.
Yes.
Ah, what a beautiful thing. And what a beautiful thing if we could do this for everybody in our life.
Yes.
But that's when we started, and we started sharing this more and more with other people
Yeah.
and offering them different languages and different words and ways of saying all the things so that they could do this for everyone in their life.
Yes.
It started slowly. Like, would you say so? Again, that was probably what? End of 2011, beginning of 2012, that we started this. How long do you think it took for the people in our lives to sort of catch on to the language?
Ooh, gosh, we our family. I remember hearing the phone calls where we'd update each other, like, from you and then me from you or to you. And we would say, oh, I was able to get this out, or I was able to, they didn't react the same way, or they didn't act, they didn't respond the same way. And so I think that was a few years
10.
before. And now I'm like, okay, wow. Now I can actually, yeah, because how long has it been? What year is it?
2025. Yeah, and so I guess it's important to be honest with people. It's not an overnight fix,
Ooh.
but I do think people learn from us, and I saw this a lot with my friends. Just, I would hold space for them. So even if they couldn't do it for me, if they were like, oh, I'm dating this guy or this girl, and oh, she's this or he's that, and I would say like, well, what would it be like if you just, held space for that and didn't judge so quickly? Or what would it be like if you took all your past judgments and, didn't bring it into the relationship and saw them as they are today with new eyes? Date this person like you have amnesia. Like you don't have this old program. One of my friends was dating someone with a lot of tattoos, but she was raised in a household that like tattoos meant like bad gangs. I don't even know what her upbringing was, but I said, what would it be like if you were never raised that way?
Yeah.
Right? If you were raised that tattoos were cool, like what would it feel like? And would you be open to trying to see this person with new eyes? You know, maybe this is an amazing human being, an amazing relationship waiting to happen, but the old programs are getting in the way.
Yep. Yeah. Your questions are huge.
Yeah. And again, all I said was maybe, right? I didn't say you should,
Yeah.
but I started showing her what it was like to hold space. And it took a while until she started bringing it back. And look, I think it's safe to acknowledge that there are going to be people that don't catch on to the language. You
Mm.
know, maybe language just isn't their thing. And that's okay.
Yeah.
We're here for the people that are open, that do want to make the people in their lives feel safe. And so they'll catch on, you
Yeah.
know. So but I guess don't be discouraged is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
And what about when we all fall off the wagon, right? And this is what I talk about all the time in Evolve Masterclass classes. Like, there's no such thing as a master that's perfect, right? There's no guru. Like, we all forget, we fall down, we get led by the ego sometimes. And
Especially when you're living with other people.
talk more about that.
When you're with children,
Maui?
now with kids, and you deliver every day, and they work from home, and like you sort of do a lot of the time too. I'm working on that now. Can you tell? I'm deeply breathing. And so I've been meditating a lot and holding space for my parts because I'm sitting here going, well, like, and it came to me last night. And I was thinking to myself, like, this beautiful studio right now. Like, why am I not just literally going to work like a normal person and coming to this beautiful place as early as I possibly can? And not because I'm trying to separate, but because maybe I'll do as good. Just saying this is not totally about my marriage now, but hey, look at how you're holding space.
I love that. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you do feel like you have a little bit more emotional wiggle room and more space when you do go to a place that you get to be alone and catch your breath and not kind of keep the heightened stuff of your relationship with you, right? Because you're not in the same space. And it's hard when two people are home or work from home. But when you do separate, it allows you to have a
Yeah.
nice deep breath and then that self time that we just don't get enough of.
Yeah, I think and this is another thing that kind of goes with the topic that you spoke about a different class about boundaries or healthy boundaries with people and relationships. It's like, I think those lines get blurred when you're sharing so much of your life with other people and they just, like kids, naturally don't have them, right? They don't know the difference as well. So I think that it's funny right now, that's my practice in holding space for the people I live with, because those are my opportunities every single day on how I can really work it without judgment and all of that, right? And so when they come to me and they don't have those lines as clear, or right, their navigation isn't.
So hard.
Yeah.
So hard, you know, and like honestly, I think that at the end of the day, we're usually full, right? Our buckets are full of stuff, of the stressors of work or the kids or, you know, whatever we were dealing with personally. And then you're supposed to go home and have a little bit more space for the person that you care about. But realistically, you may not,
Mm-hmm.
unless you make a huge effort to do that. So, you know, what's it like? Like, what do we have to do to feel like we can survive so that we can thrive in a family, so that we can still feel like, or the other person can feel like we do have something for them?
Yeah.
Like, what's your strategy?
Oh, I mean, my strategy is making sure that my cup, well, first of all, that I empty out as best I can. And it's hard. Like, I don't have the answers. I don't have the rights, the right way of doing it, because some days it works and then some days it just doesn't freaking work. I think it does I do notice that it's more effective when I take care of myself and I feel good about what I'm doing. So if that means, yeah, like taking a moment and clearing out the crap, the thoughts, right? And just like, using my useful, not useful, or my cancel those thoughts that don't work. I meditate, I pray, right? And I move my body to hold space for them, if that makes sense.
It's huge, right? It's huge. And like I know that for me to have space just to do what I do for a living, right? Listening to people all day, I have to make sure that I have an hour at least for me in the morning, right? I have to, either exercise, do something creative if I'm writing or doing fun things that I enjoy. And being alone is huge for me. I know a lot of people think I'm like this big extrovert because I present so much and I run Evolve Masterclass and do a lot of podcast type stuff, but I'm actually, when I'm done with work, I'm actually an introvert. And I love being alone and I love getting my creative juices going. And that's the thing that gives me space back, and I have a son, and as soon as he comes home from school, he wants to go downstairs and play soccer in the basement. This is our thing, right? In the fall and the spring, it's frisbee, and in the winter. So I have to make sure it's from 3 to 3:30. I always have a break scheduled, and I can give him that space that he needs,
Yeah.
to feel connected to me, to move his body. So we're both getting exercise, which is great. And also, he'll tell me about his day when we're playing and laughing and everything else. And that's, I wouldn't have that for him if I didn't first empty myself.
So you really plan ahead.
Oh, yes. So this is big. And I think this is a great tip and trick for holding space, which is what can you do, right? And you can ask yourself, what can I do to create space for myself for the entire day? And how much time do I have to put aside so I have enough for anything that might show up?
Mm-hmm.
So it could look like waking up and doing 20 minutes of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
It could look like, getting a walk in, meditating. If you like to cook and meal prep, it's very meditative for you. Finding ways that give back to yourself so that then you have all the space to share with someone else. And it might change, right? Every day could be different on what it does for you. Maybe it's going to a Pilates class, maybe it's having coffee with friends. Maybe that lights you up, it fills you up. And just kind of balancing it with what you have planned for the rest of the day. But I do think planning is huge, like you said. Like I'll hire a dog walker in the mornings just to clear the house so I can get 20 minutes of yoga in for myself, right? If I can't go to an actual class. Or I have a treadmill desk. And a lot of times, like, if I know I have a huge day, I will do all my emails as I'm walking.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm kind of getting both.
Right.
But everyone's going to have their own thing. So what do you need?
No, it's a great question. And I think like I know, but I'm also figuring it out. And I think that it's like important to ask the questions and also for ourselves, right, as well. Because it is learning sort of how to hold space for yourself, and how many people are actually taking the time to even ask this question for themselves, let alone, and then they are in a relationship to be able, whether it's their sister or their right loved ones, it's like to know what they need, and they just keep going and doing it on auto. But imagine if everybody was actually holding space from themselves and learning.
It would be so cool. We all hear it, right? Like you hold space for everybody else, but yourself, you have to go first for you. And that way you don't take everything home with you, right? You have space to put it aside. You know that story, the Trouble Tree story? It's like,
Favorite.
you love it, right? The carpenter I hired to help me restore an old farmhouse had just finished a rough first day on the job. A flat tire made him lose an hour of work. His electric saw quit, and now his ancient pickup truck refused to start. And while I drove him home, he sat in stony silence. On arriving, he invited me in to meet his family. And as we walked towards the front door, he paused briefly at a small tree, touching the tips of the branches with both hands. After opening the door, he underwent an amazing transformation. His tan face with now smiles, and he hugged his two children, gave his wife a kiss. And after dinner, he walked me to the car. We passed the tree, and my curiosity got the best of me. And I asked him about what he had done earlier and what I'd seen him do with the tree. And he goes, "Oh, that's my trouble tree. I know I can't help having troubles on the job, but one thing's for sure, Troubles don't belong in the house with my wife and children. So I just hang them up on the tree every night when I come home. Then in the morning, I pick them up again. Funny thing is, though, he smiled, when I come out in the morning to pick them up, there aren't nearly as many there as I remember hanging up the night before. Oh, it's so good. And wouldn't it be so cool if we could all, just put all the things down? But I think we can when we have space.
Yeah.
So that's the goal, right? Is just to work on creating the space so that we can do it, and then probably the other part of this is working on getting curious about the judgments that we have that might make it hard to hold the safe space.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Asking where they come from.
Yeah.
Whose are they?
Like, what is this? What is this really? What's really going on?
Yeah. Like, when did I decide, everyone had to stick it out in a relationship and never get divorced or whatever judgments might be there. We have a very adorable grandmother, and she is 99, and I'll never forget when she said to me, "There's no divorce in this family."
She said that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, that's hard.
And I was like, where did that come from? Who decided that?
Talk about antithesis of giving you choices and possibilities and holding space.
Yeah, but I was a rebel, clearly. And yeah,
So
but
let's think about rebel self, honey. What do you say to that rebel self?
I said, well, okay, but I don't want to I love her, but her and my grandfather bickered all the time. Like, they were always fighting, right? So I knew that's not what I wanted. And if, you're in an unhealthy relationship and it's not, despite all the work that you do, not making you feel like you're living your best, truest, most of all life, for me, the best choice is to step away, despite the judgments. So this is what it looks like, right? Is just getting really clear on what judgments might be keeping us stuck.
Fixed points of views, right? It's something that's like so decided. It weighs heavier than like just choices.
Yeah.
Right? The energy of that.
Yeah, because like we're bringing so much with us. You have your friends and their friends and then their families, and everyone's like, oh, this is that. That makes it a little bit challenging, if you take that judgment with you. I tell my clients, I do sex therapy as well, and I say that's not allowed in the bedroom, right? We can't use that phrase ever. No judgment in the bedroom.
Exactly.
And look, it's going to be a challenge if you've had a lot of judgments, whether it's about, how you're supposed to live your life, cultures, right? Ways of eating, thinking, talking, you name it. But I think that, well, I know we have a study that shows the number one regret of the dying is living a life that everyone else told them to live, rather than living a life that's truest for them.
I think you are an incredible example of how to adult your way.
I was talking to one of our expert coaches, Dan, and I decided to take our call in the kitchen, and we had the angle of my camera was on my Christmas tree, right? And it's like the end of January right now, and he goes, "Is that your Christmas tree? I love that you have it up." I go, "I'm an adult now. I get to make my own rules, and my rule is we keep the tree up until Valentine's Day."
Exactly.
And he just started laughing. He's like, "I love that. I love it." Yeah, we can make our own choices despite whatever judgments might be out there about how we're supposed to do things. We get to decide. And if someone is not supporting us and holding space for our decisions, it has nothing to do with us. It's not because we are doing something wrong. It's because they just don't know how to have the space for someone else to live life differently from how they are living life.
I feel like that's going to have to be heard again.
Mm.
That was really good, what you just said.
No idea what I just said.
I don't even know either. I tried not to listen. I'm trying.
I just, the thing about talking and doing what we do is sometimes as coaches, we just open our mouth and things come out and you're like, oh, I think that was good. I wonder what I said. I have a joke with the other coaches as well. I'm like, okay, guys, see you tonight for the class. I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say.
That's when you're trusting on a whole new level, that you're just an open channel and what needs to come through is going to come through. God, taking your hand off that controlling steer, right? And letting you, that was whatever you just said was really profound.
Yeah. I'm sure. I can't wait to go back and listen
Me
to
too.
it. That's the challenge, right? Is working on, learning about where do these judgments come from? Is that what I really believe? Because, my teacher, Lisa Goodwin, always said, the greatest gift we can give ourselves and other people is to be someone new every day and let other people be someone new every day. I love that so much because if I'm someone new today, then I don't have the judgments of yesterday. There's so many times I wished for some of my clients to be able to wake up tomorrow with amnesia, right? So that they could just decide what they want to do and who they want to be, right? Like maybe today they're like, oh, I'd look stupid skiing. But tomorrow they're like, skiing seems like it could be fun. I'm going to try skiing because they don't have the old points of view.
I mean, how many more choices would be available if we just allowed ourselves to try new things?
Oh, it's so true. And so many people just aren't living their life because they are afraid of judgment. I have so many clients that say, oh, we were on a hike and everyone jumped into the river with the waterfall, but I didn't feel good in my body. I was worried people were going to judge me. And they weren't living.
Done that.
I've
And
done
then
that.
afterwards, you're like, I should have done it. I should have done that.
So many experiences like that. So many experiences when we were growing up. I have pictures where I was wearing like a t-shirt in a pool to someone's like graduation party. And I'm like, why? Like, why did I do that? I could have just been having so much more fun and not caring.
Letting it all hang out.
Let it hang out. Because then the other thing is, then if I do it, how many other people am I giving permission through my example to just live, just be, just live their life as it's meant to be lived through them and their body?
100%.
But I think it starts with us all being able to hold space for each other, for the differences among us, right? Of all body types, of all ways. How can we bring more space to the planet?
I feel more expansive already.
I do too. Such
a great question. Really open the door.
Let's open the door. Let's start holding more safe space, allowing people to, go whichever direction they're meant to go, even if it's a dead end, and trust that, even that pause at the dead end is going to help transform them in some way that we can't see right now. But just trusting that their journey is their journey, and we can be here to cheer them on and, offer them love as they find their way. So here is to opening our hearts and holding more safe space for each other, leaving the judgment behind, and just grabbing hands and everyone evolving together. Well, thank you, Samantha. Great talk today. And just thank you, everyone, for listening. This podcast was inspired by the Evolve Masterclass course on holding safe space. If you really love this topic and you want more of this, go to evolvemasterclass.com, sign up for the membership. There is just so many things popping up all the time. We've got classes, we've got bonus videos, we've got worksheets. If you really want to dig in and learn more about yourself and how to implement some of these things, we've got this incredible Evolve Vault with so many goodies in there, meditations, yoga, oh, so many great things. And our expert coaches like my sister, for anyone who signs up for the membership, they get 2 free 30-minute sessions with one of our expert coaches. There's so many wonderful things in the evolvemasterclass.com site. Check it out, sign up. We look forward to seeing you there. And if you really like this podcast, make sure to like and subscribe. We will see you next time.
Mwah!
Mwah!